Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Weir Brothers podcast. It is February 20th, 2022. Back again for another week. What's going on, bro? Migo? How you feeling?
I'm good, big Brobowski. How are you?
We already used that one. You got to use a different one.
Well, you already called me Bromigo.
Was that the one you were going to use?
No, although I think I used that last week.
Oh,
What's up, little bro donkadonk?
oh okay. Not
There you
much. Not much. Hanging in. Hanging
Yeah.
in. Another week. Got a
Perfect.
busy week ahead of us. But we haven't talked too much in this past week. So what's new? What's going on?
Busy week as usual, like you said. I enjoyed my weekend. Got ready for the podcast, which I'm super excited about. I think one thing that we've changed up this week is we've each kind of dove into a couple things that we haven't talked to each other about. So this should be interesting to just get each other's opinions on a couple of things for today's episode.
Yeah, and get it's funny. I know a couple weeks ago we'd be driving home, from work and on the phone talking about stuff that was going to be coming up in the podcast. And it'd be like, oh yeah, I found this out. I'm like, no, wait, don't say anything. Let it be a genuine reaction. So
Well, before we dive into things, I do have to ask you a question and kind of bring this up to our thousands and thousands of people who have been listening
emailed
to us.
and
Exactly. Yeah. So anyways, you got a special guest, I would say, staying with you this past week.
I
A buddy of
do.
yours named Rosen, right?
Yep.
So the reason I bring this up is interesting. How did you and Rosen meet?
So Rosen and I first met when back, I don't know, 7-8 years ago now, with a little game called Destiny. And it was actually a group of us that all started playing together. A local buddy of mine, who you know very well, a buddy of mine, Josh,
Mm-hmm.
it lives local here. So him and I started playing. And, for many of those out there who know what Destiny is, it's a online first person shooter. Well, a group of us, like I said, through doing what's called raids in the game, we met a couple of guys who Josh and I ended up becoming really close with. And so over the past 7 years or so, we've gotten to know these guys, and they've become like brothers. So we finally met in person, it's really cool stuff.
That was gonna be my next question. So you met gaming like 6-7 years ago,
Yep.
but when did you first meet Rosen in person?
First time met in person was last Friday.
That's amazing to me.
Yeah.
So we're obviously a little bit apart in age. I'm 6.5 years older than you. Yet another buddy that you guys met online, Tony, right? Lives in
Yep.
California.
Yep.
And you'd known him for about the same amount of time. And yet
Yep.
you met him in person when he came out for your wedding a couple years ago, right?
So we had Em and I had met Tony a few years prior to that, because he came out to visit us in New Hampshire a few years prior when he was in the military before he got deployed. But then Tony was here for mine and Em's wedding. Yep.
I just think this is a pretty cool dynamic nowadays that you can meet somebody through a game and just become really, really good friends with them, and yet have never met them in person. And like I said, being that you and I are 6.5 years apart, it's just such a different technology, I feel like. Because for me growing up, like the internet was still fairly new by the time I was like 13, 14 years old.
Sure.
But for you were like 6 or 7, and you've had the internet your entire life pretty much since then.
Yeah, it's funny when I think about just how the internet, just computers and gaming. It always goes back to our father, and I just think that it's so funny looking back. Growing up, most of, if not all of my friends growing up, they were just a one computer household, right? There was the family computer in the living room, and I look back and I think, what was Dad thinking when he was just like, everybody needs a computer. You need one in your room. You need one in your room. Karen, my mom, needs one. I need my own. Everyone needs their own personal computer. So it would like blow my friends' minds when they'd come over and be like, why do you guys have so many computers? Like, how do you have a computer in your bedroom? Like, my dad's crazy about computers. I don't know. Everyone needs one.
He was like the Oprah of computer giveaways.
You get a computer.
You get a computer. You get a computer. It was a lot of fun because they were all wired together throughout the house. We all had like internet for our stuff. Dinner would be ready. You'd be in your room. I'd be in my room. We'd get a message on AOL Instant
AOL.
Messenger.
Yeah.
Dinner's ready. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, pretty fortunate in that case. And we certainly did not come from super, real like modest means. So how we got all those computers, a lot of people, of course, back in the day, people like, oh, the computer's not working. Why won't it be, how come the computer's not working? This is trash. The cords just lose, you know what I mean? It'd be like such a simple problem, but anytime someone would get a new computer, they knew that dad was a computer guy. So I feel like we just got donated
Yeah.
like old computers. So I feel like we
That
accumulated
helped.
computers, yeah, quite frequently, because since dad was the family computer guy,
Guru. Yeah.
So,
Anyway,
but yeah,
yeah.
just yeah, like you're saying. So it's really cool that yeah, meeting friends, online, and I gotta say it was it's just so cool because I mean, gaming with these guys for the past 7 years. I mean, like I said, I mean, these guys are some of my best friends that I've ever had. So when actually meeting them in person, it's really cool that there's no awkwardness. There's no like, oh, I'm just meeting these guys for the first time. No, I've known these guys for the last 7-8 years. So it was a really easy transition from playing games online to chilling, hanging out on the couches. So it's
That's
really
really
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
So, all right, just a little side note before we dove into the rest of our episode that just for me, I found really interesting. The first time, like when I knew Tony was coming for your wedding, and I'm like, oh, how do you know Tony? And you're just like, oh, we met online playing a video game. I was like, come again? What? But
Yep.
he was a cool
Yeah.
guy. Yeah, I like Tony a lot.
Absolutely. So yeah, so really cool stuff. So if you know but I guess I got to give a disclaimer: be very careful who you do meet online, because you never know who might be behind the other side. So
You're
make
gonna
sure
get
you
catfished in Destiny.
make sure you really know these people good and well before meeting up. But I know I'm one of many stories out there who people have found best of friends, husbands, wives, you name it, on the other
So
side. So
beautiful.
yeah, so good stuff. But like you said, let's get into the news. And this is something that I find really cool. The Steam Deck. So the Steam Deck is very similar to a Switch.
Okay.
So it's like a PC. So are you familiar with Steam?
Yes.
So Steam is like a interface that you can download where you can buy games. It's almost like what's the name for the Epic Store. So it's a library that you can hold different games, and when games release on PC, you can buy them on Steam. And so it's a good hub to keep track of your games and such like that. Well, the Steam Deck is from the software developer Valve, who runs Steam. And so this is like a portable PC, which is designed and looks like the Nintendo Switch. And so I just think that it's a really interesting kind of leap as far as computer gaming goes. So some really cool features with this. And the reason why I'm putting it in this week's news section is because the release date of it is this week, February 25th. And so I just thought that this, I haven't heard too much about this as far as like mainstream stuff. So that's why I just thought putting this in the news section, get it out there, would be really cool. So like I said, it's, if you're familiar with the Switch at all, right away the design and function of the Steam Deck will look very, very at home for you. It looks very, very similar. But it has a lot of functionality as far as it can plug right into a TV or computer monitor, as well as play it handheld mode. And it also comes with a dock similar to the Switch.
So it's like a tablet that you can dock.
Yeah. So literally it looks same design as the Switch. And unlike the Switch, though, with the Joy-Cons that can come off, like the tablet, this is just completely like handheld. Almost looks like well, because Switch kind of looks similar to the the Sega Game Gear. You remember the old
Okay.
Sega Game Gears? This
Mm,
kind of, looks like, so it looks like that. But it has, you can actually install the Windows operating system right on it. And it runs an
that's
updated
cool.
version of the Steam operating system, which is a Linux-based system. But it's supposed to give you more of a console-like experience while playing computer games. So like I said, I find it really cool where, sometimes getting into like, there's always that big debate between consoles and, PC master race and consoles and, it can be, now someone like myself who I own a PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4, as well as my primary gaming is on my PC. I know that getting into gaming on the PC can sometimes, for some people, seem a little,
Thing.
what's yeah, a little daunting, a little daunting of a task. Where do I start? All the parts, do I buy a custom PC or do I put it together myself? Obviously, there's
Yeah.
so many different options. Whereas I feel like this route may actually work on an entry level kind of way to get into computer gaming with not having to worry about buying a gaming PC, which I find very interesting and could be helpful to a lot of people who might be missing out on some games because they don't necessarily have a gaming PC,
Yeah, it
but
makes a
it
lot
gives
of
them the
sense.
form and function, to use it on the go as well.
Very cool. Yeah, this is the first I've heard of this. This is, I think, a very interesting idea, and smart. I think, given the success that the Switch has had, and like you said, I mean, we're both fairly involved in terms of technology and computers. I mean, we could put together power source and CPU and motherboard, memory, figure out what we need for just about any type of game. But you're right, for somebody who's maybe getting into it new and they don't know what type of processors they need or how fast they need to be or how much memory they need for a certain game, having something like this makes a lot of sense and makes it very just plug and play.
Absolutely. I mean, I see it as someone who's like on the go, for instance, because you can plug it into a monitor or TV. If someone just has, say, like just a workspace kind of laptop, right? It's not a gaming
Mhm.
laptop or anything, but you have the Steam Deck, and say if you're going for a travel or working on business or in a hotel, you want a game, you have the Steam Deck, and you can, sorry, that's my dog in the background. You have the Steam Deck, you can just hook it right up to your laptop, and the Steam Deck itself has the GPU, has the processor, has all that in there, so it kind of gives you a PC like quality gaming gaming PC right on any screen, and like I said, being very portable. I just think that there's a lot of really great options that you can have with it. Kind of strange, not necessarily strange, but something to keep in mind though for anyone out there who's listening, the thousands of you listening who might be interested in purchasing one. Even though I said it releases on February 25th, that's when they are opening up like registration. So right now you can put at the minimum $5 down to reserve you a model of the unit, and then at February 25th, customers that will have 3 days to get, when they get an email, to kind of like buy pay for the rest
Mhm.
of the machine, and then they will be shipping all the pre-orders sometime after Q2 2022. So technically it's still a few months out from actually being in the hands
Gotcha.
of the public, but it it will be coming in. And so this 20 February 25th, I'm sorry, will be the date to look for to actually fully purchase it.
That's pretty cool. Now, can you upgrade or change out components of it? Do you know, as like it ages?
Great question. So you can increase the storage with a micro SD card, which
Okay,
many people would want to do. So and just
kind of like
to
a switch.
Yeah, exactly. And for, again, all of the thousands and millions of listeners that we have out there in all different countries, I just want you guys to know that for right now, it is only available in the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, and the EU. So that's just the first four regions that it's going to be launching in, and in that's where you'll be able to get your hands on it. And also,
Super
you
cool.
might be wondering, is it just one system, right? Or is there different kind of models of the system? Well, to answer your question, Taylor, and great question, it's
That was
three
gonna be my
different.
next question.
I knew it was. It's actually there's three
We
different
must be
models.
brothers.
Well, we're brothers for
Yeah.
sure.
We are.
There's three models. You have a 64 gigabyte, a 256, and a 512 gigabyte as far as the internal memory goes, and that ranges from 399, 529, and 649. So certainly pricey, but compared to say like gaming PCs and like I said, the form and function, I think that for many people it could be considered worth it. And the internals are all pretty good. The CPU clock speeds run from 2.4 to 3.5 gigahertz. They're a 4-core, 8-thread. The CPU is an AMD Zen 2. The refresh rate on the screen is 60 hertz. The resolution is 1280 by 800. So, I mean, obviously nothing, super spectacular,
Yeah.
but for what it is, it's really not bad. It's a 7-inch LCD touchscreen, and
That's
the RAM
pretty
is a
decent
16.
size.
Yeah, and for RAM, you got a 16 gigabyte DDR5. So it packs a little punch. It's a nice. I think it will be a nice quality for a lot of people.
Very cool. I will
So
have to check one of those out for sure.
Yeah, that like I said, that's the Steam Deck, and I think it's definitely a cool piece of hardware. Anyone who's a fan of the Switch, like I said, we'll just like this right away from looking at it, and I definitely think it's something for people to keep on the radar and to see how that does, because obviously the Switch, if it's kind of modeled after that with PC, clearly the Switch has done something right to the industry. If other developers are taking notice and kind of modeling, future kind of gaming things after that. So I thought it was cool.
That's very cool. I mean, I have like a gaming laptop, but I like the portability offer of like a Switch, and which is why I play it so much. So having something that's similar to play PC games on is pretty cool.
Yeah,
Very cool.
absolutely. I think I that's actually, you were someone who I was thinking about that I feel like would benefit and would like something like this.
Very nice. Thank you for thinking of me. I appreciate it.
Always.
My birthday's in September, so I mean that'll be after Q2. So I mean, I'm just saying.
That's true. I will keep that in mind for sure.
Anything else to add on this new Steam Deck?
No, I think that's about it. Like I said, just keep an eye on it. I'm obviously going to keep tabs on it and look to see when it first people start getting their hands on it to see what
Very
they think.
nice.
And yeah, that's about it. So that's the news of the week.
Well, that's your news of the week. I have two things to drop on you this week before we
Okay,
get
let's hear
to
it.
new games of the week. Did you see it all? I've seen a ton of people up in arms because Nintendo has announced they're going to be closing down the eShop for the 3DS and the Wii U. Are you familiar with any of the details on this?
Very slightly, just knowing that I've just heard that they are shutting them down.
Yeah, so I've seen all over the internet people are freaking out about they've spent all this money on these games and are they going to lose all these games? When's everything happening? There's a couple key dates to keep in mind. And first of all, no, if you paid for any game to download, that's your game. Nintendo's not taking it away. You have it on there. If they took it away, that'd be stealing. So no, you're not losing your game. However, as of March of this year, you'll no longer be able to load like new credits onto your account. And then I believe coming up later on this year, any gift certificates you have, like you can't add any funds to that either. But the big date is going to be in March of next year. So that's when you're going to stop being able to get new games from the eShop. That's when it's closing down completely. But again, you'll still be able to keep any games that you've already paid for and downloaded. And if you had paid for a game and deleted it, you'll be able to re-download it still, I believe, up until that point. So they are saying at some point you won't be able to like download anything, but for at least a foreseeable future, you can still download stuff you've already paid for.
Yeah, and it doesn't surprise me in the slightest that this is coming right now. The Switch has been out for 4 years, I believe, five years now. So going back and taking away resources from the old eShops, it doesn't surprise me in the slightest. And I think people obviously, people get so worried and freaked out real soon before they know all the details, naturally. And so I think that when you say March, you said March of next year, of 2023.
Correct.
So
So
it's not like they're shutting it down like next month.
yeah. So next month you can stop adding funds. However, if you have a Nintendo account, you can add funds to that, and apparently they're linked to the eShop. So that's one workaround. If you still want to buy stuff, you basically have a year to get whatever you want. You can add funds to your Nintendo account, and that'll link to the eShop.
Well, that's good. That's better than a 2 week notice. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah,
So
I mean it's interesting. I get why some people are frustrated because I look at the Switch and they've started releasing games here and there for the older systems, which is really cool. But there are thousands of titles they have out on the 3DS and the Wii U that you can get from retro, like older style games, and it is cool to be able to play those in like a portable sense. And I wish you had the same capability with the Switch. I'm assuming from a financial standpoint, they're probably just looking at like if they can keep subscriptions going, it probably makes them more money than whatever they get for these downloads over the course of the
sure.
year. So
I just hope Nintendo makes a big push into bringing over the virtual console games that
yeah,
were on the 3DS. And now, clarify for me: is it just the 3DS eShop
and the
that's
Wii U
shutting down? And
and yeah,
and
both
the
of them
Wii U. Okay, yeah, I'm surprised they haven't tried to erase the Wii U from people's
from
memories.
existence.
Yeah,
They're
that
like, we
yeah,
went from the Wii to the Switch. They're like, what's a Wii U?
exactly. Yeah, no, Wii U never happened, never existed. We don't speak of that name around here.
It's I've always been a huge Nintendo fan, but it's still the only Nintendo system I've never owned. We had the NES, Super NES, N64, GameCube, Wii, and then disappeared for a while, and then we came back to the Switch.
Yeah, I wonder if the Wii U one day will be worth like, a lot of money. If you get your hands just on an unopened Wii U.
I was saying that a few like months ago, but actually before we started this podcast, I started seeing all these things about like when the unopened Mario game came out and it sold for over $1 million. I was like, man, I wish I had an unopened Wii U. Yeah,
That'd be something.
that's
Although you never know, in the future, you could be like, oh yeah, I have this unopened Wii U. It's gonna be worth so much money. And they're gonna be like, the Wii U was never a real thing. That's fake. I never even heard of the Wii U. That's not even real.
yeah.
But
So anyways, a lot of people are up in arms about this eShop closing. So that was a pretty big news. So one piece that I found this week that I thought was really amazing, and I was wondering if you were going to come across it. Speaking of unopened games and consoles, did you hear
oh, I like
about
where
this?
this is going.
Did you hear about this store that closed down? I think in '96 in Nebraska, and
No,
somebody just found a ton of unopened games.
really?
Yeah, so this is pretty amazing. A bunch of sites had listed this. So just a couple of titles that were listed that they have several unopened copies of. I'm going to start out of the four of these, the least expensive. Sunset Riders,
Oh
unopened,
wow, I love Sunset Riders.
average value $750.
Is this
Then,
for
oh
Super Nintendo?
yeah,
Okay,
so apparently there were a bunch from like Sega, Super Nintendo, and a couple other consoles. But these are the major ones I could find details on. They also had, I guess, like Aladdin, Contra Hard Corps on the Genesis. But yeah, so we start with Sunset Riders, $750 unopened. We move
oof,
on from there. Several copies of Final Fantasy 3,
ooh,
$1,200 a piece, unopened.
oh wow.
Then several copies of, get this, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
Turtles in
Turtles
Time.
in Time,
Oh yeah,
$1,400 a piece.
those are really
And
worth more than Final Fantasy 3
yeah,
unopened. That's
yeah.
surprising.
And these are all before they're graded. So if they get these graded, the value is going to go up significantly.
Sure.
And the creme de la creme,
Oh, let's hear it.
several unopened copies of
Chrono Trigger.
Chrono Trigger.
Yeah.
Could you imagine just finding this tote of like dozens of unopened games? Oh, by the way, Chrono Trigger, twenty
Yeah.
four
What is
hundred
it?
bucks a piece.
20, $2,400 a piece, man.
That's before it's graded, so it could be worth 2 or 3 times that once it's graded.
I would love to have an original unopened box of Chrono Trigger. If any of our fans would like to donate to the Word Brothers podcast,
Yeah, right along with those stand-up machines from Nintendo before they converted them to Donkey Kong.
Exactly. Hey, we're just building up the the
The
old
old
trophy
library.
case.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I came across this story and I was just like, this is amazing. I love seeing these stories about like people buying storage units and they have all these like cool retro things. But yeah, apparently this gaming store closed like 25 years ago and there's a whole crate of just unopened games that somebody came across.
So it just sat vacant.
Pretty much for 25 years.
Bro, are we going to Nebraska sometime soon? Like,
Dude.
we should just look. That's just incredible. I mean, talk about
Yeah,
gamers gold mine
I know. Next week we're coming at you live from Nebraska.
from Nebraska.
So,
No, I
anyways,
wonder.
those are my two things of news of the week.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, if okay, I got a question for you. If you were to come across some sort of gaming thing like that,
Yeah.
what would you hope to like? What would be your holy grail,
Ooh.
so to speak?
Oh, geez, that is a good question. Maybe some unopened Super Mario RPG.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I like that game quite a bit.
yeah, you do.
Yeah, but I mean, the Chrono Triggers, that was pretty cool, and the Turtles in Time. I was like, that's some sweet stuff right there.
Yeah. So in a future episode, Taylor and I will certainly break down some of our top Super Nintendo games, or top 10 list of Super Nintendo games of all time. Turtles in Time will most certainly make that list.
Oh, definitely. We have some excellent memories. It's probably one of the last games I remember our dad playing with us. And he just would come up with the craziest stuff as we're playing. Obviously, the famous, what was the famous saying from the Ninja Turtles whenever they would do something spectacular?
Cowabunga,
Yeah, and what would dad always say?
Kawasaki.
Yeah, classic.
Yeah, I don't know where he came up with this stuff.
I know, probably from the Kawasaki manufacturer.
That may be the case.
He was sponsored by them.
Now, proud sponsors of the Word Brothers podcast.
Yeah, he just runs around all over the place shouting Kawasaki. Anyways, moving back on. So we got some games of the week. Ken, would you like to dive into this a little bit?
Yes, I would, because this has probably been the most anticipated week in gaming for me personally this month. I have been waiting for this. This is an exciting week. So kicking this week off right, February 22nd, this Tuesday, is Destiny 2 The Witch Queen. That's a brand new expansion coming out for Destiny 2. So excited, so pumped. It needs no explanation. It is for the PlayStation 4 and 5, Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, Stadia, PC, all the platforms, Destiny 2. It's bringing weapon crafting, brand new raid, obviously brand new story, Void 3.0. It's just, if you want a deep first-person shooter with RPG elements, it's just perfect. It's an awesome, fantastic game, brand new, big expansion. Great thing to look out for. February 22nd, Destiny 2, The Witch Queen comes out. Next, we have.
Sorry to maybe cut you off there.
Nope, go
So
ahead.
the Witch Queen, does this expansion involve witches and queens?
It involves a witch queen.
Oh, okay. Just want
The
some
witch
clarification.
queen. Yeah.
The Witch Queen.
The witch queen.
You're just running around. There's witches and queens everywhere. You're just shooting them.
Kinda. I mean, it's the hive, man.
Okay.
You don't know because you don't play Destiny, but it's okay. Moving on. We have a game called Monarch, which is a JRPG. It comes out for the PlayStation 4 and 5, the Switch, and PC. That comes out as well February 22nd. Soul Cresta, also coming out February 22nd. It's for the PlayStation 4, the Switch, and PC. It's a sequel to Moon Cresta and Terra Cresta. It's a 2D scroller spaceship shooter. So from the way it looks, do you remember the old, I'm trying to think, it's like, we used to play them at Fun Spot, the 2D scroll, like 1904. Yeah.
Yeah, I know what game you're talking about, and I can't think of the name of it.
1934? Was it, like little...
1943.
1943.
Yeah.
So yeah, like
I was actually thinking of a different game, but I know. Yeah, no, this is like a futuristic space shooter, right? This
correct.
One?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a couple other that are like that, but I forget the names of them.
Yeah, so it's a
Okay.
kind of an arcadey style of game.
Can we back up for 1 second? So
Yeah.
Monarch, do you know any details of like storyline or anything like that for it?
So Monarch has a very it's like a. Are you familiar with any of the Persona games?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's similar to Persona in the sense of your day takes place kind of. It's like a Japanese school, and it's a very Japanese game.
Okay.
If you're a fan of Persona, it looks like you would probably be a
A
fan
fan
of
of Monarch.
a fan
Okay.
of Monarch.
Fair enough. Moving on.
So Edge of Eternity comes out February 23rd for the Nintendo Switch. This game has already been released on other platforms, but now it's just coming over to the Switch. It's an open world tactical RPG, one of your favorites, of course, because you love tactical RPGs so much. Just kidding, you do not like tactical RPGs. From the other systems, though, I did want to point out that it did receive a 67 for its Metacritic score but a little bit higher user average of 7.6. So maybe worth checking out if you're a fan of open world tactical RPGs and you want another one on the Switch, because they seem to be getting a lot this month. Next game coming out is Martha is Dead. This comes out February 24th. God rest Martha.
Is this about Batman or Superman?
Martha Kent.
What?
Superman.
Yeah.
Martha Kent. That's his mom.
Yeah, but wasn't Bruce Wayne's mom also Martha? Dun dun dun. I'm pretty sure it was.
Have you ever seen them together in the same place? They're brothers. They have the same mother.
That was the whole running joke in Batman versus Superman, is they both mom's name is Martha.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So
I could be making that up.
This has nothing to do with the DC universe, but yeah, Martha is Dead. It's a horror indie adventure game. It's just if you're a fan of horror games, then this may be up your alley.
And Dead Marthas.
Well, it certainly wasn't up Martha's alley because she's dead.
It'd be funny if it was made by Marvel. They're just like, oh, hey, what's up, Batman and Superman? Martha is Dead, brought to you by Marvel and Disney.
And that's true. It is Disney, that product.
Yeah.
They don't bring this game at all. No, this is
okay.
So next we have Grid Legends, which comes out February 25th for the PlayStation 4 and 5, Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, and PC. It's the fifth installment in the Grid franchise. So Grid is a racing game. I'm sure you're probably familiar with it. You know, it's not as to me. I always thought Grid was more of an arcadey kind of racer game versus like the real in-depth, like hyper realistic, like Gran Turismo or Forza. So this is this is kind of like just their standard open world sort of racing game. So Grid Legends again comes out February 25th. And last but not least, another game that I have been patiently waiting for. February 25th, this Friday, for the Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, PC, PlayStation 4 and 5, we have Elden Ring. Open world RPG directed by Hidetaka Miyazaki. People are familiar with that name because he creates the series. He's come from the series and directed Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, Demon Souls. These are just punishing, wonderful, beautifully crafted RPGs. And even special with Elden Ring is they did this game in collaboration with George R. Martin, who is
Ken?
Yeah, very famous for writing Game of Thrones. So he has George R. R. Martin has contributed to some of the lore of this game, and through that, this game was created as far as the actual story and lore goes. But this game is just a huge step forward for Dark Souls players. It will be very familiar, and it's very very much modeled after that. But it has been being stated out there that this is going to be a generational defining game. This game is supposed to, and from everything I've seen, I've watched and read a lot of stuff on it. I am very excited. I love the Dark Souls franchise. Dark Souls 3, it's one of my favorite games of all time. Elden Ring, just get the game. If you can play this game, if you're a fan of RPGs, get this game. It is going to be incredible. Very, very much worth a buy and a play.
Can I
So
play this
those are
on
the
the Steam
games.
Deck?
It's for PC, so you certainly could.
Did I tell you my birthday's in September?
Yes, you did.
All right, just checking.
And that, my brother, are the games of the week.
Perfect. Anything on this week in history?
Yeah, we actually have a few big things that came out this week in history. I was quite surprised. In 1995, we have a small game called NBA Jam Championship Edition.
Midway.
That came out in Boom Shakalaka. Sorry, that came out in 1995 this week. Awesome game, very great sports franchise. It just very kind of, I don't know what the word I'm trying to say here is, but it's a very nostalgic.
Top, yeah,
nostalgic game for us. Very fun, very fun memories of that.
Back kind of led the way. I think NBA Jam came out, and then you saw like the NFL Blitz, MLB Slugfest, NHL Hits, just kind of that over the top, exaggerated type environment. Very cool. Yeah,
were Blitz and the Slugfest thing, were those all Midway as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they were all by Midway.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Again, spawned great franchises, great sports.
I wasn't huge into a lot of the sports games, but I loved all those ones from Midways where you could just wreck people.
Yeah.
I remember in Slugfest, like you'd hit a home run or something, guys would be like hanging on the back of you as you're like running around the bases, or NFL Blitz, just crushing people. The fighting and NHL Hits, and this all kind of stemmed from NBA Jam.
Absolutely. Yeah, so it's amazing thing that came out back in 95. Then this week, in 1999, we had the first Silent Hill. Ooh. And that was a big release. Certainly Silent Hill has gone on to spawn many games, movies. Again, I'm not a horror fan. I'm not a horror game fan, so I've never played the Silent Hill franchise. Other than, I shouldn't say I'm not a horror fan. Obviously, Resident Evil is.
Thank you very much.
Is a very fun memory game, especially Resident Evil 4 for us. But Silent Hill came out back in 1999 this week. In 2001 this week, the Xbox, like the original first Xbox, was released in Japan back in 2001. Which I thought was pretty cool. And then in 2012 this week, the PlayStation Vita was released in the United States and Europe. I actually had a Vita at one point.
Living La Vita?
Living La PlayStation Vita Loca. I don't know how the song goes. It was that was a fun little system. Ended up just selling it. Didn't have it for too long, but it was a cool. They kind of had like the an early kind of virtual console type kind of feel to it. You can have a lot of old PlayStation games. I had Legend of the Dragoon, had Final Fantasy 7 on the Vita, so it was cool to have those games handheld. I PlayStation did a good job with the PlayStation Vita, and then why can't I think of PlayStation's first handheld before the Vita?
I don't remember.
The
Vita was the first one.
No, the Vita was like as like they had the Game Boy and the Game Boy Advance, and they came out with like
the PSP.
Yes, there we go. Thank you, the PSP. So they had the PSP, and they came out with the Vita. And so the Vita kind of competed with the 3DS, whereas the PSP competed with Game Boy Advance and DS. The Vita competed with the 3DS. So PSP, very wow, cool. really drew a blank on that one. But yeah,
what would you do without me?
Oh, beats me, man. Probably wouldn't be just thawing shrimp right.
You wouldn't have a brother.
I wouldn't have a brother.
This podcast you have would just be called We're.
I'm an only child. Welcome to the I'm an only child podcast.
There you go. Yeah, I just talk to myself like I do with my everyday life.
So that was this week in history. Definitely a lot of really cool stuff that came out.
Very cool.
This week. It's been really interesting doing actually the week in history, kind of seeing, there's always been almost like something big each week that's come out over the course of time. Well, over the last 20 years.
Yeah, I like looking into those as well. But job well done, Broski.
Thank you.
So I think this is the time we will jump into our deep dive. We are continuing on to our theme of Mario. We covered Mario on the NES, Mario on the Super NES, and next comes Mario on the N64. So,
Who knew?
You go ahead. What?
I just said, who knew? Who knew that
I know,
the
right? Who
N64
knew?
was coming next?
Guess what? Spoiler alert. Next
Yep.
week is GameCube.
Oh man,
I know, right? You had no
I
idea
thought
what was coming.
I thought it was the Wii U.
The Wii U. Oh, geez, that's gonna be a tough one to cover.
That's gonna be a quick week.
I know we're like 30-second podcast. Anyways, so obviously one of the big advancements with the N64 was the introduction and really kind of the development of truly 3D games, and we have to kick it off with Mario 64. Again, the OG. He really kind of introduced a lot of. There was a lot of pressure on Nintendo for this because being that it's the first real truly 3D game, there's a lot of things in terms of camera angles, and just controls that they've never had to deal with before. And this was going to kind of set the precedent for what future 3D games were going to act and feel like. I mean, would you agree?
Oh, I absolutely, yeah, 100%. Really giving Mario that kind of first initial sense of open world feel, seeing Mario in that sort of space. Yeah, it no pun intended, changed the landscape of of Mario games and Mario
Yeah.
games in the future. Absolutely.
Yeah, I remember we had this on the N64. I played through it a little bit, but I never actually beat it until several years later. I was in college, and one of my roommates brought an N64, and I just sat down. I'm like, oh, I gotta play this, and I played through it and beat it when I was in college.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I thought you played through it on a ROM, or I didn't realize you beat it in college.
No, yeah, junior year. I think junior year. One of my roommates had it, and
Interesting.
couple other games. But I sat down and I was like, I'm gonna play Mario. So, anyways, yeah, it was a launch title for them back in '96. It came out in Japan in June of '96. Came over here in the States in September of '96. It was the only N64 game that cracked 10 million copies sold. They sold over 12 million. But also introduced a couple of cool things from Mario. Is where we first saw the triple jump, the ground and pound, the long jump, and the somersaults. And
Mm.
like I said, it kind of touched on, it helped them to determine the actual design of the controller for the N64 because, they needed to add all these new capabilities and movements that they didn't have before, which is why they had the joystick. And I actually had read that they used a modified version of a Sega controller that was like on the aftermarket market to when they were first trying to make this, because it was the only one they could find that actually had like a joystick at the time for the 3D movements.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
interesting.
So I thought that was pretty cool. But so we got this brand new Mario game again, and yet poor Luigi. There's no Luigi at all. I guess when they're developing it, they had plans to put him in, but it came down to crunch time. They had to scrap it so they could get it out for the launch of the N64. But they did add him in later on when they ported this to the DS, along with Yoshi and Wario. But it was just a huge game, which was pretty cool. All the different zones they had 15 zones, whereas previously most of them only had either 7 or 8 different worlds.
Now I got to ask with this, because
Yeah.
with the port to the DS, when you say they added Luigi, Yoshi, and Wario, now spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't beat Super Mario 64, after you collect,
64? Super Mario 64?
Yeah, Super Mario 64. What did I
Okay.
say?
No, I just thought he was Mario 64.
Oh,
Anyways, sorry,
Mario 64.
I could be wrong. Anyways, when you
That's
collect
what's
the
written on the
stars,
paper. When you collect the stars, it opens up a special cannon and you get shot to the top of the castle where you see Yoshi, and Yoshi gives you maximum life. He gives you 99 lives, which is a really stupid achievement for beating the,
the end of
game.
the game.
Yeah. But so Yoshi was in the game right at the very, very end.
Yeah.
But when you talk about the port for the DS, and they said they added Luigi, Yoshi, and Wario, they added them as playable characters.
I believe.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, it was just what I came across on my research that they add them in. Like I said, it was a huge game in turn. I guess they had more levels set up for this as well. But again, crunch time, they kind of scaled it back a little bit. They had 15 different zones, where again the previous titles either had 7 or 8, depending on the game you were in. But they also introduced a couple of new abilities. He got different caps that give different abilities to him. So you had the wing cap, which makes him fly. I mean, it is a wing cap. Gives you wings. He must have had some Red Bull before it.
Yep.
And he had a vanishing cap, makes him disappear. These are fairly
Really?
self-explanatory. And then a metal cap that
Makes him wood.
you got it. Makes it what? No, yeah, it makes it metal.
Metal Mario.
Yeah, so obviously a very popular game. When the IGN.com had listed their top 25 N64 games, this was number 2 on the list. And one thing I thought was pretty interesting, there were a couple of design elements from this that they didn't use, which then made it to another fairly well-known game. But if you remember Epona from Ocarina of Time, the horse that Link was on, he was originally introduced for Mario 64, but then they were like, why do we have Mario on a horse? We should probably use this somewhere else, which kind of makes sense. I mean, you already have Yoshi.
That's very true. Seeing a horse in Mario's,
Yeah.
well, this doesn't quite, which, sounds weird. Why does a green dinosaur fit more than an actual horse? But it does. Yoshi just fits better. And
Yoshi fits that landscape. An Italian plumber needs a dinosaur dragon, not a horse.
Exactly. Something I remember from the Super Mario 64 or Mario 64 is you can get to the final the final Bowser level, but you get to a set of stairs where unless you reach a certain point, you'll never reach the top of the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
You'll just keep running up and up and up and up and up and up, and it'll never stop. And I did a lot of stupid things when I was a kid, right? But something in my head when I was a little kid, I got to that point and I was just like, it's got to be like a secret. Like if I just run up these stairs for like an hour straight, it's gonna let me through the final boss. I tested it. It doesn't work. No one else try it. I don't know why I decided to waste an hour just to see, but I did, and it doesn't work. So I did it for science, really.
Yeah. You did it for science or research?
It's for research purposes.
Yeah, they're like, Ken, what are you doing in your room? Nothing. Don't come in here. I'm just running up these stairs for an hour. Boy, am I tired. Well,
that's what I was doing in my room.
Thank you from science. Oh, geez. All right, so moving on from Mario / Super Mario 64. I did write Super Mario 64.
That's why I said it.
So our other sequel we have here from previous console, Yoshi's Story, came out in Japan in December of 97, came over here in March of 98. So this carries over the look and feel from Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. And it was interesting to read that this is the first Yoshi platformer that was not produced or directed by the OG, the guru, Miyamoto. But he did contribute some elements to it and thoughts, but he did not have like a main part in making this game. But yeah, they did a lot of cool things, even though, a couple of 3D games had been out at this point. Like all the backgrounds in this game was all made in 3D, but then they had 2D movement, which made Ken's favorite 2.5D movement.
Ooh.
Yeah. But this was much more, I guess, puzzle based than the previous one. And
my favorite's HD 2D.
HD 2D. This was pre HD. If you were wearing glasses, then it
was HD.
It was HD 2D. Yeah. But you like progress through this game by getting high scores by eating fruits in certain levels. And they actually had originally developed this for the 64 DD. But then once that was scrapped, they just moved on to the cartridge and said, Ken, are you familiar with the 64 DD?
I am not.
We'll probably touch on this at a later time when we dive into like accessories and things for a bunch of the consoles. But basically, it was an add-on for the N64 that used discs, and it just they put a ton of money into it, and it didn't really go anywhere. I think they made a handful of these that made it to market, but it was not very popular.
Yeah. I see. I wonder if they did that probably to compete with the PlayStation, would be my guess.
Yeah, like I said, this was before obviously GameCube came out, but I think there was a lot of elements from it that made its way over to GameCube. But it was supposed to be like a disc-based add-on to the bottom of the N64.
Cool.
Yeah. And
have you played
What? Go ahead.
Nope, sorry. I was gonna say, ask if you've actually played Yoshi's Story.
I have not. It is available as on the Switch as part of the online services. So it is one
Oh,
I'll probably jump into at some point.
you should. It's a very very fun game. I played it. I think I rented it back when I was a kid, and it's really fun. You can unlock the different Yoshis, the different colors.
Mhm.
And you can unlock like the white and the black Yoshi, where kind of like special Yoshis, and the dark blue and light blue and yellow and red and all of them. Yeah, really really fun game. Really cool art style and art design. It was like each level was almost like you're reading. Makes sense given it's Yoshi's story. You're reading a book, and each time the
Oh,
book turns and the page turns, it's like a brand new level. Really cool. It's like a big pop-up book and stuff. So really cool design. I think you'd like it a lot.
that's pretty cool. So they're different colored Yoshis. They're not all gray.
They're not all gray, coming from the colorblind man.
I'm like, wait,
Uh,
what color is Yoshi?
It's a world of color.
See, if I wear my colorblind glasses, it'd be like I saw it in HD 2D.
Actually, what color is Yoshi to you?
Ah,
Can you
green.
tell he's green?
Yeah, he kind of looks greenish yellow to me.
Oh,
Mostly green.
gotcha.
Anyways, so moving on from Yoshi, this next one is very interesting to me. Paper Mario. So obviously, I was a huge fan of Super Mario RPG, and I was so excited for a sequel to come out, which this is basically the spiritual successor to Super Mario RPG. But I, for years, could just not get past the looks of this game. Like I had zero desire to play this game. I was like, why couldn't they have just made Super Mario RPG 2? But I will say, once it came out on Switch Online services, I jumped into this, and as a game, I absolutely loved it. This game was awesome. I actually beat it about 2 hours ago before we started this podcast. I was trying to
Nice.
hammer through it because I knew we were going to be talking about it, and I loved it. I'm so glad I picked it up, and I'm super excited because there's a ton of sequels for this as well. Like I said, still not a huge fan of the look and feel, just the whole paper portion of it. But as a game, it was a lot of fun. I love this game. Came out in Japan August of 2000. Made its way over here a few months later in February 2001. But basically, yeah, it was just a book format. It's kind of like we were just talking about with Yoshi, where the different chapters that you progress throughout the game. And one thing I thought was interesting. So Luigi is in this. He's not playable. You can talk to him, but all of your partners that you can get are all bad guys, which I thought was very
Really?
interesting. Yeah, so you get them as you progress through the game and they join you. But yeah, it's always one person you can partner with. You can have all of them in your team, and you're going to switch them out depending on how you need them. And all of them have a certain ability that you need to use to get to certain items throughout the game, which is pretty cool. But you partner with a Goomba, a Koopa Troopa, a Bomb, a Paratroopa, a Boo, a Cheep Cheep, a Lakitu, and then a little Spark. I just think it's funny that they're all like bad guys that you come across.
All
Within,
enemies. Yeah.
yeah, they originally, yeah.
So
So,
would you say, does this have more or less or the same sort of RPG elements as Super Mario RPG?
uh, fairly similar. Yeah, it's basically Super Mario RPG 2, but just the art style's completely different. But otherwise, the gameplay is very, very familiar. And one thing I thought was interesting that when Nintendo was getting ready to come out with this and develop it, they actually approached Square Enix to do it because they wanted a Super Mario RPG. Square said, I'm sorry, we're working on this little known title called Final Fantasy VII.
Hmm.
Go find somebody else. We think this one's going to be a hit. And so they ended up
And it
hiring a
was.
company. Yeah, it turned out okay. Good job, Square Enix. I'm still mad at you for not making Super Mario RPG 2, but I guess I forgive you for Final Fantasy 7. So anyways, I hired Intelligent Systems, the name of a company. They had helped Nintendo with Duck Hunt, the whole Metroid series up until Metroid Prime, and then also Fire Emblem. So they had some history there, and they ended up going on to
Sure.
make all the Paper Mario games after that.
Oh, very cool. So
Yeah.
now would you say Paper Mario? Obviously, they have it's done sequels from the
Mhm.
original Paper Mario. So you'd say it's been a successful Mario kind of offshoot for them.
Yeah, definitely. To me, this is the way I kind of compared it when it came out. Like I said, love Super Mario RPG. Then this came out, and I'm just like, why are they made out of paper? This makes no sense. It drove me nuts. And I just had the hard time getting past that. And I kind of compared it to when Ocarina of Time came out, and that game was amazing. And then GameCube came out, and I was so excited for the next line of Legend of Zelda. And then we had
Wind
uh,
Waker.
Wind Waker came out, and I'm like, what is this? This is not what I was expecting. I still have not ever played through Wind Waker. I've never touched it. I'm sure it'll be on my list to play at some point because I've heard the game's amazing. But I just wish the graphics were a little different. Just personal
Yeah.
preference.
Yep, absolutely. I think that was a very common, very common thing that was said when that game first came out, and so rightfully so with Paper Mario. Same thing. I never would have known that it was that even had RPG. It was an RPG or had RPG mechanics in it, just
Yeah.
because it was almost like so jarring to see the art direction of the game at first. I was just like, whoa, what the heck is this? So it didn't, to me, yeah, maybe if I just didn't notice, but it didn't really seem like they even marketed it as an RPG, sort of a pseudo sequel to Super Mario RPG. I feel like if the marketing was a little bit different, then it may have been,
Yeah.
may have gotten out there a little bit better.
Yeah, it wasn't even till Origami King came out. I think the latest one. I didn't realize there was other Paper Mario's in between the first one and the latest one that came out, just because I dismissed it. And but anyways, once I kind of got back into gaming a couple years ago, I was like, this was on my list. I got to try it. It was an RPG. I'll give it a shot. And so then when they added it to the Switch online service, I was like, I'll pick it up and play it, and I absolutely loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. I've been playing it like crazy probably this past week. So great game.
Now,
If no one's ever played it, highly recommend it.
now, will you go forward now and play the other Paper Mario games?
Yep. Now they
Yeah,
got me hooked.
you're hooked.
Sons of bitches.
Very cool.
They just
Very
give you a
cool.
little taste. Now I want more Paper Mario.
Well, that's how
But
it
what I
works.
really want, really want, is a true
Tell me what you want, what you really, really want.
God. We'll stop there. I want a genuine Super Mario RPG 2, which we actually didn't touch on this in our news, but the original director of Super Mario RPG apparently wants to do one more game before he retires, and Super Mario RPG 2 is tops on his list. So
Make it happen.
please, for the love of God, Nintendo, give us a true Super Mario RPG 2. I would absolutely love that.
That'd be wonderful.
Yeah. I just think it's weird how there's all these new games coming out, but they have these great titles in their past that people are begging for remakes and new games of that they're just letting sit there. It's driving me nuts.
Yeah, there's so I would love to see if companies had all the money in the world that they could, but have kind of two separate teams, teams working on new games coming out, and then companies that they could just dedicate whole teams to bringing back remakes of just classic games, bringing them up, kind of like they did with the Trials of Mana remake. I kind of set the bar. I feel like that set the bar really high on far as how to remake a classic game right. I felt like they really did a very good job with that.
Not even just remaking, but like just sequels of stuff. I mean, people have been clamoring, I feel like, and we'll touch on this some point, but when Metroid Prime came to GameCube, absolutely, it was such a great use because they had no Metroid games for the N64. And then you just had this great game, and then it's just been dormant for like the last 10 years. And it's
Prime
like
4, baby, coming
with
out
nothing.
sometime.
I know it's coming. It's just taking forever. But I feel like this is another one of those kind of franchises that you have that you could do so much with, and you just heard nothing about. Anyways, we'll leave that for another day.
Sure.
Stick with Mario. So we had Mario Kart 64. Very popular. Came out in December of '96 in Japan. Again, made its way over here a couple months later in February of '97. So a couple changes. They got rid of Koopa Troopa, swapped in Wario, who was another kind of heavy hitter.
I miss that guy.
I know, poor Koopa Troopa. or Wario. Do you miss Wario or Koopa?
No, Koopa.
Yeah. One thing I thought was interesting. This was kind of I wouldn't say the height because it's never really waned, but fresh in everyone's mind was Pokemon, and they actually had a Magikarp that was supposed to take the place of Donkey Kong. And
What?
yeah, I mean, I don't know. Magic, use Splash. I mean, what are you gonna do? You can't even drive a cart.
He
I
doesn't even
mean,
have arms.
I know a giant gorilla. I can believe
Magikarp?
that, but
You would think
that's
they would be Pikachu. You know what I mean? You think that they'd have Pikachu.
I choose you, Pikachu. So, anyways, he didn't make the list. Donkey Kong was still there, but they'd kicked his name around, I guess, when they were in development. But I think it was interesting is they had like a bunch of the voices they used on this carried over to Mario Party, which we'll touch on a little bit. They did have less courses. There were only 16 total courses versus 20 from Super
Oh
Mario
wow.
Kart, but the courses were a lot bigger, a lot more detailed. So there's more content in general. And they tried to make this a launch title, but they had so much time focused on Mario 64. This came out a little bit later on, but it originally launched with Mario 64 and Pilot Wings. But this was originally intended to be a launch title, which would have been pretty cool for the N64 as well.
That would have been pretty cool. Mario Kart 64 is probably one of the most memories, most games, played for me on the N64. We had it. We played it a lot with our cousins and stuff. And
We had it. We had Diddy Kong Racing.
we did have Diddy Kong Racing.
We didn't have Mario Kart.
Yes, we did.
Before.
Yep. I'm dying on this hill.
Okay.
I don't think we had it.
We played it with our cousins. I'm pretty sure they had it.
Oh, I know they did.
We had Diddy Kong.
So, fun fact for you: when Mario 64 was coming out, Dad and I went to Walmart one time. They had it hooked up, and there was like a sales rep there. I don't know if he was from Nintendo, but I think he was from Nintendo. And so you played a course, and if you depending on what place you came in, you'd get a prize. I did not come in first. I came in third place, and I got this silver Nintendo 64 pen in like a pen case as a prize. Yeah, third place, no big deal.
Okay.
Pretty much a badass over here. So
I thought there's gonna be more of the story. You're like, I got a pen and it unlocked the secret tomb and it led me to some treasure. I don't know.
Yeah, no, the ink exploded on me. It was a terrible pen.
Got it all in your eye.
Oh, it's really bad.
Mario and Nintendo.
Had to go to the doctors, get my eyes flushed out. Yeah, really bad time. Really bad time.
So last game on our list here, the introduction of Mario Party, which I have no idea how there's been like 20 titles and sequels to Mario Party. I mean, how do you improve on the first one? I know we played the first one quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I've ever played anyone since then because I'm like, they're all the same. I would think have you played any past the first one?
Yeah, here and there, maybe a couple for the GameCube, at different like parties. But I swear to you, don't fact check this. I swear to you that Nintendo were saying to themselves, okay, we need to sell more controllers. How do we sell more controllers? And then they came up with Mario Party because you would just bust, it was like rotate the joystick. Yeah. And you just, furiously like rub the joystick and
parents are like, what are you doing in your bedroom? I am rubbing my joystick. Oh, okay, I bet you are. We'll leave little Timmy alone so he can beat Mario Party. But anyways, that released in Japan of 98 and in December, and then came over here in February of 99. So you can play Mario, Luigi. Oh, they finally gave Luigi a game. Luigi, you are forever banned to Mario Party 1 through 15. Yoshi, Princess, Wario, and then Donkey Kong. You can do 2-on-2, 3-on-1 if you want to be real mean, or 4-player free-for-all. They did have quite a few mini games. There were 56 of them. And
that's quite a bit for the first go round.
Yeah. I mean, it was fun. I remember playing it, but I just can't remember thinking to myself, how can this get any more fun with Mario Party 2 and 3 and 4 and so on and so on? But it's funny you talk about the controllers and the issues with the joysticks. So after Mario Party 2 was released, Nintendo actually offered these gloves to people to help with blister control. And if you provided proof of purchase to Nintendo, they would ship you free a glove that you could wear while playing.
That is wild.
I
I
know.
did not know that.
And there were actually, just in New York alone, there were 90 complaints filed with the Attorney General's office due to blisters and injuries from
That I
using the
believe.
joystick. I know. I mean, people will sue over anything. I mean, I got a blister for playing video games.
Yep.
Yeah.
Get your gloves here.
Everyone's walking around looking like Michael Jackson. God rest his soul. Just
Yo.
one white glove on. Just
Well, Mario has white gloves,
that's
Maybe
true.
they'd send
That's
you
true.
Mario's gloves.
Yeah, but they would only. I think you only got one. Like,
So they'd
mean-
send you Mario's glove.
come on. So anyways, that's our deep dive into Mario this week on the N64.
Very, very cool system. A lot of great Mario games.
Yeah.
All in all, I'd say at this point in time, for everything that we've covered, I think Super Nintendo still holds the winner as far as best Mario games. But certainly it was a huge leap forward for the Mario franchise. So
yeah,
obviously there was a few more games that we'll touch on after we do a wrap up of all the systems that certainly Mario was in Super Smash Brothers. But we'll touch on other kind of little bit more departed games that's not quite just Mario, like I said, in the future. But yeah, anything else to say about this era of Mario?
On Mario, not so much. I mean, the N64 in general, I think was a great system, depending on like what your flavor was for types of games. I think the Super NES was really kind of the height of RPGs. I mean, there's more RPGs than I count for the Super Nintendo system. And then when you kind of up to N64, it was really the introduction of 3D gaming as we know it today. Like I said, it really set the precedent for controls and cameras and angles, which was just new for everybody to try to figure out. And I think Nintendo did a great job with it as the first one to kind of bring this to market. I don't think they could have done any better than they did. And they've just improved upon it with every generation since then. But yeah, you certainly got more open world stuff with Mario, Legend of Zelda, other games we'll touch on, Jet Force Gemini, things like that. It just set a precedent going forward for 3D games, in my opinion.
Absolutely did. And especially with the N64, I feel like that was a console that we got extremely early into its life cycle. You said, Super Mario 64 was a launch title that came out in September of 96. We got our N64s, I believe, that December.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to finally have a console, like I said, right at the start, and to be with that console for its whole life. Kind of a little funny story from getting the consoles for Christmas. I remember, so I was always a very sneaky kid when it came to Christmas time. Mom and Dad had to hide the presents and keep finding new spots to hide them, because I'd always get home from school before they got home from work, and that was my time to shine, to sneak around and try to see what I got for Christmas. So I wasn't trying to sneak around at this point in time, but I remember going upstairs into the guest bedroom because I was looking for like a Nerf gun or something, and I look underneath the bed in the guest bedroom, and I see two Nintendo 64s, because they got one for me for New Hampshire, and then your mom and dad they got one for you for in Maine. Yeah. So I go downstairs. And now, mind you, 96, I'm like, I'm probably at this point 5 years old, and I go see Dad, and I'm like, hey, why are there Nintendo 64s underneath the bed upstairs? And Dad was like, oh, that's for your cousins, your aunt and uncle. They bought them. They just have them here to hide from your cousins. And I'm like, oh, okay.
That's
well,
logical.
Don't they already have N64s? Well, they gotta get new ones. They gotta get new ones. Like, oh, okay. Yeah. And sure enough, nope, those are ours.
What a goober.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, wow, that was a clever story. I mean, I can see why you couldn't figure that one out.
Yeah, I was young. Okay. Not proud of it.
Yeah, I mean, that was just a great console. I mean, it really kind of introduced to consoles a lot of people forget first person shooters. Up until that point, first person shooters were all a PC game, and then you get things like GoldenEye,
Hmm,
and it was
Perfect
just
Dark.
yeah, just two amazing games for that system. But it just I think things haven't been the same since those games came out. I mean, that console in general just introduced a whole generation of people to gaming in a whole new way, which is amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Sure was.
So
Yeah, good
perfect.
times, good systems. I again, great job this week, brother. Appreciate you joining on up and us doing this. This is great. And for all of you listeners out there, all you thousands of you, again, feel free to email us at the We're Brothers Podcast at gmail.com. Follow us on all our social medias, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you name it. We're out there. Hit us up and yeah, come keep on tuning back in.
Yeah, we'll be back again next week for a new episode. And Jeff, thank you everyone for listening, for all the support so far. And yeah, we got a little change to our intro this week as well for our music. So thank you to Aaron Slocum for putting that together for us. And we'll be dropping a new one again next week for you. Have a great week, everyone.
Brother, I'll see you next week.
Love you, brother.
Love you too. We're brothers.
We're brothers.